Hi, guys. This week's First Chapter Friday is literally one of my favorite books in the library. It's hard to say that it's my actual favorite because I have a lot of favorites, but this one is way, way up there. It is called What Waits in the Woods. It is by Kieran Scott, and it is so good. It is filled with mystery and adventure and survival and action and friend drama and relationship drama, and oh my gosh, it just goes on. It is so good. So it has a unique structure. So it starts with these recovery journal chapters, and these chapters are after the fact. So after all the events of this book have happened, someone, I can't tell you who because it would ruin the surprise, it's part of the mystery, has been assigned to write a journal to kind of process their feelings and what happened. So first page is just entry one of the recovery journal. There's no question things could have gone differently out there in those woods. One zipper more tightly zipped, one foot more carefully placed on a rotting wood plank, and I might not be here today. I might be roaming free instead of sitting locked up in this hole, sucking my every meal through a straw and staring at a padded wall. There might not have been so much bloodshed, or there might have been even more death. There's really no telling how everything might have turned on a chance. But what could never have been different was the why. This is the only non variable. And yet, that is Dr. P Brain's favorite ask every single time he walks into my tiny square cell. Have you thought about why? Any more insights as to why? I can't help you unless you tell me why. Well, here's the thing, Doc. If you're so entirely brain dead that you can't figure it out for yourself, then I can't help you. Because the why is obvious, you potato head, Afrin snorting idiot. The why is all there is. What I can tell you is this: they deserved to die. Every last one of them. And if you can't see that, well, no one can help you. So that is the recovery journal. Recovery journals appear kind of randomly throughout the book. As you can tell, the one of these main characters has ended up in an insane asylum, and they're writing this journal to kind of process through what happened to them and why, apparently. So chapter one, I will go ahead and read as well, because chapter one in this book properly gives you all the background you need for the story itself. So chapter one. Kelly Velasquez wasn't ready to die. Not here, not now, and not like this. Not standing in the middle of a pitch black forest clutching a roll of toilet paper. No, that just seemed wrong. She was only 16. But it was going to happen. Especially if that thing, the snorting, breathing, hulking thing, managed to pick up her scent. Callie stood perfectly still. She tried as hard as she could to keep her breath shallow, but the terror gripping her heart kept making her want to suck in air, to cough. Her knees quaked, and her stomach twisted itself into terrible, ever-tightening knots. Why had she used strawberry shampoo this morning? The sugary scent wafted from her thick, dark, meticulously straightened hair. Or could the thing out there smell her coconut body wash? Or maybe the chemical odor of the olive green nail polish she'd applied to her toes in the kitchen after breakfast, thinking it was oh so hiking appropriate. Callie looked down at her bare, throbbing toes and her new Tiva flip-flops. Maybe it was her feet. They'd turned pretty rank when she'd peeled off her sweaty socks and carefully applied first aid cream and band-aids to her lovely new blisters. Oh God, could it smell her feet? Another snort, this one even closer than the last. She could feel the thing's presence just behind her like a pulsating warmth. It was so large that it radiated heat. She imagined a huge brown bear with a snout as wide as her father's hand, a wild boar with awful fangs glinting in the moonlight, a mountain lion crouched low and taut, primed for the kill. Her instincts told her to run, but her fear kept her frozen. That, and some vague notion from a movie she'd once seen as a kid that the best policy in this situation was not to draw attention. Bears couldn't see you unless you moved. Or was that dinosaurs? What was she even doing here? Was being part of the popular crowd in the tiny upstate town of Mission Hills, New York, really so important to her that she had to risk her life? Just because she had some insane need to prove that she was no longer the nerd she had been back in Chicago, now she was going to die? The moment Lissa Barron and Penelope Grange had noticed her in the cafeteria that second week of school, when Callie had been just the shy new girl, she had latched onto them like a life raft in the storm. But that moment had led directly to this one. Callie had never been camping in her life, had never felt the need to go camping, but this was apparently what people did for fun in upstate New York. At least, what her new friends did for fun. So here she was, just having loads of fun. When her boyfriend, Jeremy Higgins, yes, Callie had a boyfriend now, another upside to being newly popular, had picked her up this morning, she'd been so nervous, she had started up a kind of mantra. 4 nights, 4 nights, 4 nights. That was all she had to get through. Yet here she was, evening one, about to get eaten alive. She vaguely wondered if the thing would maul her friends when it was done with her. "Hey, Callie," Jeremy shouted from their campsite, which was probably 40 yards from where she was standing. "Are you okay out there?" There was a surprised snort, and then suddenly the thing took off into the woods. Callie whipped around in the direction of snapping twigs and crunching leaves, but she saw nothing. Just some low, weak branches crushed in the underbrush nearby. She heaved a breath, bent at the waist, and pressed her hand to her heart. "You're okay," she whispered to herself, tears squeezing from her eyes. "You're okay, you're okay, you're okay." She was going to live 4 nights. By Sunday, she'd be back in her dad's car, and they'd be driving to the airport to pick up her mom after her summer in Sao Paulo. Then, next week, she and her mom would go to New York City for a back-to-school shopping trip. Callie was going to live to see her mother again, to finish writing at least one of the 10 short stories she had started since June, to read the rest of Black Inferno series and finish painting her new bedroom now that she'd finally settled on the pretty aqua after 3 misguided attempts at the Purple family. Everything was going to be fine, except Callie stood up straight and turned around. She had no clue what direction she was facing. She'd lost her bearings when she'd whirled to spot whatever it was that had crept up on her. Was the camp in front of her? Behind her? Where was the skinny, muddy trail she'd taken to get here? A low mule escaped her lips. Callie brought her hands to her head, the soft triple ply of Penelope's toilet paper soaking up her sweat. She thought about shouting out for help, but she didn't want to look like an idiot. Lissa and Penelope had already spent half the day teasing her for not breaking in her hiking boots, for packing her makeup bag and a change of earrings, and for forgetting to bring a water bottle, which she knew for a fact was sitting on the kitchen counter where she thought she wouldn't miss it on the way out the door. She didn't want them to think they needed to babysit her every time she had to use the bathroom, too. If that was what you could call what she had just done, squatting next to a tree, ew. If only she'd had her phone. She could text Jeremy and he could come find her without alerting Lissa and Penn that her total lameness was here. But she'd left it in the pocket of her hoodie, which was tossed uselessly on a blanket by the fire. "Callie," she muttered to herself, "think. You're a straight A student. You survived getting lost on the Chicago L all by yourself when you were 10 years old. You can figure out which direction to walk to get back to camp." It was funny, really, because until now, she'd always thought of herself as a survivor. Her parents had been letting her walk home from school with her friends in Chicago since she was 8. At 12, she had flown to Brazil alone to visit her grandmother and hadn't freaked out or cried even once. With her friends back in Chicago, she was the leader, the one who could navigate the map at Six Flags, order the exact right number of pizzas for a party of 15, and figure out the tip. She hadn't even crumbled when her parents had told her that her dad had gotten a new job at Cornell Law and that they were moving to New York, leaving behind the friends she had had her entire life and the only neighborhood she had ever called home. But it seemed upstate New York survival skills were entirely different than the outer loop Chicago survival skills. Callie looked up. It was past 8 o'clock on an August night. The sky was deep ink blue beyond the tangled canopy of branches and leaves, and every last tree trunk looked black in the darkness. Black and exactly the same. Okay, so forget pride. Pride was stupid. It was time to shout for her friends. She opened her mouth just as a hand came down on her shoulder. And that's chapter 1. It is so good. I hope you guys enjoy this book. Come and check it out at the library if you are interested.